Welcome to the Mulligan Stew podcast. I'm Terry David Mulligan. For those of you not in Canada, I have been a broadcaster here for a number of years. And one of the paths that I crossed is the subject of this week's Mulligan Stew podcast. Bryan Adams has been a lot of things in his over 40-year career in show business. As a musician and songwriter, he's a global hit maker who has sold more than 75 million records. As a photographer, his work has been featured in the pages of Vanity Fair, Harper's Bazaar, Esquire and Interview Magazine. As a philanthropist, he's established the Bryan Adams Foundation to better the lives of society's most vulnerable and disadvantaged. And now, the Order of Canada recipient can add writing for Broadway to his already legendary list of accomplishments. Bryan Adams and his longtime writing partner, Jim Valance, recently created a suite of songs for the Pretty Woman musical, which opens in August. This week, I caught up with Bryan backstage at Save-On Foods Memorial Centre in Victoria. He was starting his Canadian tour. We touched on a lot of things, but we talked about his entry into writing for musicals, his long-held process for writing hit songs, and his inspiration for some of his best-known songs. I have, as promised, found Bryan Adams in this backstage dressing room. It's a hockey dressing room is what it is.
Yep.
Your life has been spent in places just like this.
Yep.
I was trying to figure out how many years it's been since we sat on the roof of Bruce's office. And I think the first and last thing you said to me was, "Mulligan, you're such a dweeb." And I carried with that in my heart for all these years.
I stand by that statement.
Oh, man. I've come to ask you about Pretty Woman,
Okay.
which I think is an absolutely fascinating story from your perspective, because it's taken you, well, you're a songwriter, you're a singer, but you're a songwriter primarily, you and Valance. And congratulations on the SOCAN Award.
Thank you.
You've gone into an area that's, oh man, it's so precious, it's so narrow in its scope, and that is Broadway plays, Broadway musicals. They come, they go, they some are hits, some are failures, and everybody attaches so much juice to it. You were charged, and you stepped in willingly to say, "I'm going to write songs for a Broadway musical." Yeah. What drove you to do that?
Well, the idea that I hadn't done it before was the first reason. The second was it was around 2008, and I was seeing a girl who was a dancer on the West End, and she used to say, "Oh, I wish somebody would make that into a musical, make that film into a musical." And I thought, that's a really good idea. So I contacted the representative for Disney that does theatrical, and he said, "We're not doing that." And that was 2009, and then I heard about it 3 years ago. I heard about it from a friend of mine called Rob Roth, who's a director of Beauty and the Beast for Broadway, and he said, "Oh, they're making that now. They're making Pretty Woman." He says, "I can connect you if you want." I said, "Oh." So he did. Paula Wagner called me and said, "We'd love to talk to you."
Did you know going in that you would write 35 songs to get 23, that you would work for 2.5 years with Jim and the production to get it right?
No, I had no idea really what the workload was going to be like. And a lot of the reason why it's taken 2 years to do is because the story seems to be ever changing. Mm-hmm. Even though the story is the story, it's simply a Cinderella story about a hooker on Hollywood Boulevard meets a billionaire. The narrative that goes along with that and how you present that is such an important thing. Every piece of the puzzle has to work, and so a lot of it's just being, in some cases, sent down a lot of rabbit holes.
I was thinking about what was going on at the time in those 2.5 years. All of the Me Too movement, everything that was going on,
sure.
Was that affecting it as well? To a certain extent?
No, the story is a story. I mean, you can't paint it any other way.
But she can't be the victim.
No, she never was. She's not the victim, and she wasn't the victim in the film either. You know, she says to him, you know, I don't want this. I want the fairy tale. You know, so she says the same thing in the Broadway musical. So she was never the victim in the film. These are her decisions. She's an empowered woman.
But the songs are also the narration voice as well, are they not?
Yeah, all the way. It's been a great experience. And we've written some great stuff. I think people are going to love it. Well, I hope they do anyway.
Well, you opened in Chicago.
Yeah, we sort of do a preview in Chicago, and from there they sort of look at the whole body of the musical and decide what's working and what doesn't.
You can write with Jim, and you two are your toughest critics. I know that for a fact. Yeah. Many years you didn't touch a note until it was absolutely perfect. Here you have something where you're taking this song that you've done, or a demo anyway. You take it to them, you play, and they say, no, I want you to change this, and this. So you have to leave your ego at the door, and you have to learn as you go. Is that right?
It's not leaving the ego. I mean, it's about whether or not in some cases it's worth putting up a fight for things if you think that they really are the right things, and in other cases I'm not precious about it. I spent 10 years working with Mutt Lange. You know, I know what it is to be precious about a song. You know, and it's not worth it. It's the best idea wins. So in many cases, the director has been, brilliant in the sense that he's been able to push the story and push us to write better and better. And I think that's the good thing.
When you and Jim huddled up, did you sort of agree what the plan would be, or was it organic? Did it change from day to day?
Well, it's just like having a list of things, like a shopping list. You've got this many things to do, and you have to sort of just go through each one of them and try and tick them off. And that's kind of what we did. We'd make a list. This is what we need to accomplish this week or this fortnight, and then we'll get it done.
Did you have to start with the first song and work down the list?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And did the first song affect the second song, and the second the third?
The first song obviously is I mean, without giving anything away, it's the whole street scene, and it had to be quite a big number. And the more you work in this world, the more you realize that there are certain sort of high points you have to hit, and there are things like the "I Want" song. What's the song which sort of sets up the entire story of what she wants,
her dreams,
her dream. And but one of the directives we were given was, okay, write a song about her dreams, but you can't use the word dreams. Okay.
What's the best second word?
I can't give you that.
Fine, you can't, of course not. It hasn't even hit Broadway yet. You had seen the film. You loved the film.
Mm-hmm.
Gary Marshall.
Brilliant. I got to spend a year working with Gary, which is a real treat.
That's amazing.
It was so great, and getting to know him and his family, and I learned a lot spending time with him too. It was just a lot of fun.
But it had to be the storyline of the film, but not necessarily. We're taking it to stage and theater, so we will recognize the characters, but we should be open to some of the changes that we see.
I don't think anybody that goes to this will necessarily miss anything, because a lot of the main script lines are there. The big mistake, huge, all these kind of things are all there, and so it's just the way it's painted, going in and out, because it's a musical. It's done. It's the story is said in song.
What do you think they saw and heard in your music that said that will work for this production? What was it? Well,
obviously the legacy that I've, my 40 years of writing songs, I think that would be it.
It's not possible.
So that's what it is.
But did they want hits? Of course they wanted hits.
I mean, if you could, I don't think they necessarily think in a sort of hit world. They sort of think, is this serving the story? So if you can write a song that can do both, then that's great. But that's not necessarily looking for hit songs. They're looking for songs that serve the story and take you to the next scene.
What was your connection with musicals on Broadway? How many had you seen? The ones you
Well, by
loved?
now I've seen pretty much all of them. I've done my homework, and it's interesting.
Had you gone to see Bruce Springsteen?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Did you want to know how the music was? It music staging? What was it about?
Have you seen Bruce's show?
I'm going in November.
Oh, it's his story, and it's not really a sort of Broadway musical per se. These are his songs, and he talks about his life, and it's incredibly moving, and it's quite a spiritual thing when you sit and listen to Bruce talk.
And all consuming. I mean, it's just him on stage, right?
Mm-hmm. It's really great.
Jerry Mitchell, the director, is also a great choreographer. Mm-hmm. He did Kinky Boots, right?
Yes.
So what did he bring to this mix for you?
Well, it's kind of his vision, the whole thing. I mean, the way it's obviously the story and
structure.
He would be the one sort of between him and J.F. Lawton, who's the guy that wrote the story originally. They would sort of set apart, this is the places we want to hit with a song, and sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. So, and when you're creating something from nothing like this, which is such a big production, a lot of times you get, like I said it before, sent down rabbit holes, and it's just literally trying to see if it works, and if it does, then it does, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. You get pulled out. So you just got to be ready to do the work. It's just work. It's a lot of work.
At the same time, were you writing? Was there any room for you, or did you set all of your next album off to the side? That this was going to take all of your time?
Well, I'm kind of always thinking about it, and some of the songs that were written for this that didn't work. For example, there's one song that's on my last record called Ultimate, and the song is called Please Stay, which was written for the musical, and the director didn't like it for the musical. It was one of those things where it was like, we thought we had a good idea and presented it, and it was like, no, I don't really want to say that. I don't want to tell that part of the story. And so I was okay, good, I'll take that and put it out myself. Thank you very much.
Bruce told me that you have an album coming in the fall?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you got the play first, Broadway musical, and the album.
Yes.
A floor wax and a shampoo.
And a shoe shine.
Fantastic. Will any of those songs from the production make their way onto stage? Maybe not tonight, but down the road? Could you see that happen?
There's one song in the musical which is going to probably go on my record and the cast album, and it's the song which she sings in the bathtub, and it's called I Could Get Used to This, where she's thinking about, I could get used to this idea. This is beautiful. This beats Hollywood Boulevard.
It's like a Cinderella story, isn't it?
It is a Cinderella story.
Is that security?
No, that's Jody.
That's Jody. Of course it's Jody.
Quit and Jody got married.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Congratulations. I remember a moment. I don't think I ever told you about this. I was doing an interview with Tina Turner. I think we're in the Georgia Hotel. Tina Turner.
Okay, yeah.
And she had just listened to, in her room, your demo for It's Only Love.
Oh, wow.
And she was giddy. She was literally vibrating. She was so happy to have heard the song, finally had it in her hands. I just remember that moment, and I just want to pass that on.
That's sweet.
She loved that song.
Well, I also remember, which if we were to fast forward, I don't know how many hours after you'd met her, the moment that I met her, which would have been the second time, I met her once as sort of at the Commodore Ballroom backstage and presented her a song. And this is when she didn't have a record deal. And so the next time I saw her, I saw her beeline through a whole load of people backstage at the Coliseum. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Which one is he? Where is he?
Oh, she just loved the song. It took me 5 minutes to get her back on track because she was talking about you.
I love Tina. I love her. I just love her.
What should we know about the new album? What have you done with the new tune?
It's kind of too early to talk about because there's.
I'll hold on to it.
Yeah, well, it's still not done. There's 2 other things that are coming up that I'm hoping to finish before the end of this month, which will be a nice little jewels on the crown for the record. And then, I mean, it's as I've learned from all the things that have happened, on all the records that I've made, even though you think it's a good idea, if you get a better one, that might be the one to go with.
I keep thinking about how those songs, that whole experience that you just went through, the 2.5 years, you and Jim, how it might affect songs down the road. Your perception, because you've now found another dimension to songwriting that you can pull from. It's all experience.
Yeah, I think that what you have to, what I hope to pull out of this after it's finished is that we learned a lot, and that it hopefully will lead to other things down the line. That's what you hoped. Whether it's another musical or writing for somebody else or making better songs. Let's see what happens.
Anything's possible. Okay, enough of that. Okay, because I actually think this is a great story. The fact that Pretty Woman is finally going to be on stage. August 16th, you'll be there, of course.
Thanks, Molly. Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It's so much work.
Nervous?
No, because
Were you nervous in Chicago?
Not really, no, because I'm so confident with the cast, and I'm so confident with the way it looks, and I've seen the reactions that everyone's had. I've seen the reviews that have come through. I think it's in a good place, and it's only going to get better before it goes to Broadway. There's a whole other swathe of things that are going to change.
Did this cast, did the singers, I know that you weren't the director, but you were certainly part of this shaping. Would they come to you about phrasing or the songs? Or
if they didn't, they certainly would hear from me.
Yeah.
Because there's a way that they should. But again, anytime you give something to somebody else, you have to let them interpret it and then go back and see if you can mold it if it's not working.
Any other ideas like Pretty Woman that have been lodged in the back of your brain that you could see yourself doing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's incredible. It's like it's feast or famine in the songwriting world. You either have something to do or you've got nothing to do, and sometimes it's just good that way.
Well, let me ask you this. Here's a question and I say this on the air: how is it possible that writers can just fire out of the gate and just those first 3 albums are just wicked good, and then it slowly starts to leave them or something, and then people like you and Elton John just keep writing songs, Randy Newman just keep writing songs? Where is that tipping point?
I'm not sure you can put me in the same paragraph as Elton, but it's very kind of you.
Well, I think I did.
We used to laugh about, it takes you 20 years to write your first album, then what?
Exactly. Then what do you do for the second?
Yeah, so there's a little bit of that goes on with artists and songwriters. You'd have compiled a lot of ideas over the years that you just, and then you have to go and make records, so you just dig into your archive. And I've been fortunate that I met with a guy called Jim Valance, who I really, hit it off with, and we've always been able to come up with an idea, good or bad. We've always been able to come up with a new idea, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's songwriting.
Does it matter who spits out that first idea?
No.
Is it sometimes a word? Just one word?
I don't. It can be. I mean, there isn't really a steadfast rule about what or how it comes about. It just comes about. And sometimes it can be born of frustration, or sometimes it can be born of excitement. Whatever it is, Actually, I think we're both quite good at a deadline. You've got until it's Sunday night. We need it by Monday morning.
Randy Newman said the same thing. I worked a deadline. I forced myself into a corner, and then I must write, and then I come out with the songs.
Randy Newman. I don't think you can put me in the same paragraph.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, but I can do that. Here's the deal. I've got to drop one more name here. I asked Robbie Robertson. I said, I've got a minute here. No, I've got a couple of minutes here. Robbie, 3 songs. Just tell me how they came to you so that at least long after I'm gone, they can play this back. And so we did Cripple Creek and we did The Wait and Dixie. 3 songs from your repertoire as to how they came to you.
Go on.
Well, you give me 3. Where am I going to start with you?
Well, Run to You was written because of our mutual friend Bruce Fairburn was producing a band called Blue Oyster Cult, and he needed a song, and so we wrote that song thinking that might be good for them, and they didn't like it. So that's a good one. And then we talked about Tina Turner, so Jim and I had written this song called It's Only Love, but I knew it needed something else, and my friend Carter, who is another producer, was producing Tina's album Private Dancer, and he contacted me and said, look, man, I need a song for Private Dancer. I said, how about if I send you a song that's for my record and see if Tina will sing on it? And he went, all right, I'll send it to her. And I never heard anything, and then it came down to the wire, and I knew she was coming to Vancouver, and I managed to get her manager and my manager to talk, and that's how that song came about. So producers seem to be a good connection, and then let's
number 3,
and let's take a new song off of. Let's take a new song. Let's take the song that we talked about earlier, which is called "Please Stay," and that was written for Pretty Woman the musical, and it's the scene where in the film where she says, you know what, I'm done, I'm out, goodbye. And she walks out of the hotel room, and he realizes he's screwed up, and he runs back, and he's standing in front of the elevator, and he says to her, I'm sorry, please stay.
Wow. Okay, enough of the songs. I want to know just a bit about you, because I haven't seen you in many, many, many years. And I have had to live vicariously through articles, shots, and video and things.
I'm sorry about that.
That's okay. But that's all I could do. What kind of a life has it been since you left us?
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean,
your life over the last 30 years.
It's been all right.
It's been a blur.
Thank you. I mean, look, that's what I got now. So everything's all right. Yeah,
everything's all right.
We just we kept touring. We kept making music, and I've been occupied with just watching the incredible change in the music business and staying true to the thing that I love the most, which is making the music and touring, and that's what I do. That's what I do.
Somebody said. I had been asked a number of times about what was it I saw in you that intrigued me, because I've always talked about you. And it was the fact that you, when I first saw you, it was the first time I'd ever seen anybody who was on a mission, and if you weren't there to help with that mission or recognize it, get out of the way, because I got to get down the road.
Seriously?
No, seriously. No, because you were driven. You were driven.
Well, I think determination is a good thing, you know. I think it's good to be determined.
It worked well.
Thank you.
Well, Broadway play opens August 16th?
I think that's the day in New York City, yeah.
New York City, and the album comes out shortly there?
I think there's a cast album which is going to come out shortly after the release of the... shortly after the opening on Broadway. Yeah. In fact, the day after it opens on Broadway, I have to go in the studio and record 20 songs in 2 days.
Why?
That's how it works.
Okay.
And then I have an album which will come out at the end of September or beginning of October of my own stuff.
Okay.
Happy days, man.
Happy days, and congratulations on FAM.
Thank you, Terry. Good to see you, man.
Bryan Adams. Glorious backstage, the hockey rink dressing room smell thing. That's my conversation with Bryan Adams. His ultimate tour rolls through Canada now through August 3rd. Visit bryanadams.com for complete tour dates. And that is the Mulligan Stew podcast for this week. Please subscribe today at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or Spotify. And we hope you'll join us next week. Thanks for listening.